Hey, everybody, it's going to get weird. Name of the podcast, Season 3, motherfuckers.
Woo!
We are all back, and now we have a third guy, Frank Green, Joe Tubal, and Scott Clark. We are all here for Season 3 of It's Going to Get Weird. You want to get a part of the show? It's going to get weird 369@gmail.com. Joe, welcome to the cast.
My God, it's awesome to be here. I'm so excited. It's it's going to be great.
Why are we screaming?
Me or him?
You.
Yeah, I can't help it. I'll just move the microphone.
I know
It's what I do.
I know.
Whoopee! Look up here.
This is going to be exciting. It's almost going to be as exciting as playing at Wix on a Thursday night at 7 p.m.
Exactly.
That's it right there.
I think I got my dick sucked that night. Oh, I mean, it was a different night.
Oh, that was Thursday. That was Tuesday. That was
No. The whole time we were ugly, you were married.
I know.
That's right.
Oh,
that's right. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Not that night.
He wasn't for Miss Right.
Oh, okay, just
right
making
now.
sure.
Yeah. Just Miss Right now.
Revisionist history.
Frank, Joe, and I can all be found on social media at all platforms that you want. You can download the show. You already knew that. Please do us a favor if you like the show, even if you don't like the show, rate and review, and then share with a friend. That's all we ask of you.
Tell us.
All right, we got to get to it. What's next? What are we into today, man?
I have been watching this whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing.
Oh, God.
And I want Frank to kind of break down whichever one of you want to do it. I want somebody to break down this to me because I've got my own thoughts, but I'd like to hear someone else other than me break it down the way they think it is.
What part of it?
Well, Kyle Rittenhouse was the kid that got dropped off in Kenosha, Wisconsin. His mom drew him across state lines with an AR-38, whatever they're called.
AR-15. It was waiting there.
Yeah. It was waiting.
It was waiting for it there. Yeah, someone purchased it there in Wisconsin for him.
So then he comes over. He's a minor at the time. He goes in, ends up killing 2 people, wounding 1, and now there's a whole trial going on about it.
Correct.
Yes.
And I've heard every side of the story, but I'd like to hear someone else tell me what they thought happened that night, or maybe what the defense and the prosecution is doing. We could start there.
Oh, the defense and the prosecution are arrest. It's in the hands of the jury right now.
Yeah. The jury actually. This is
it's done
of deliberations for the jury, and in a very, very rare circumstance, the judge called the jury back into the courtroom today to, I guess, sort of update them as to what's going on outside and not be outside influenced. Never been done before, but whatever. So I mean, we shall see. I mean, they called the National Guard out, which they maybe should have done at the time that this happened. But hey, what are you going to do? So I mean, I honestly, this is my thought on the whole thing, and I'm just going to say it. Why is this case getting so much attention when literally people are getting shot every day?
Because he went there specifically.
There's certain things, right?
He broke the law. You asked the question.
He didn't break the law.
Why is it getting the attention? First off, his mother drove him there.
His father lives in Kenosha and is a firefighter. The guy that bought the gun was Dominic Brown. He is a citizen and also a police reserve.
Right. And
I mean, these are things that people leave out that are very important. The people that got shot were felons and also had weapons.
None of which means that they deserve to fucking die at the hands of a 17-year-old kid who's hand delivered to a riot by his mother from another state. No, it's not wrong. You're
speculating.
Hang on. Let me be the judge of jury here. Let Frank have his few minutes and then you can talk.
I'm sorry. I really didn't want to get into this because there's just 2 polar opposite ends of this spectrum. And obviously we're on
we have two opposite visions of what actual criminal justice should be. It's not up to, well, shut the fuck up for a minute and let me talk. It's not up to anyone to fucking take the law into their own hands, go out into the street with a fucking assault rifle and shoot people in the street. First off, it's murder. He went there with an assault rifle for a purpose. He went there with a purpose. He went there for a fight. And he shot 3 people, 2 of which he killed.
Right.
There is no scenario where he is in the right in any of this.
I just don't see it that way, but I mean, that's just my
hold on.
opinion.
Well, you don't see it that way because you think that eye for an eye. You think that people
Not at all.
No, you think a
They're the
subway
facts.
vigilante. No,
What are your facts that back up your claims? Give me one fact.
He
So
shot
far, I've
3
told you
people. He
He
shot 3
people and so that the law says that you are
one of which tried to hit him with
you're
a
legally allowed to
skateboard.
fire. You're allowed to defend yourself.
With a skateboard. He got
That
swung
was
at
the
with a
third
skateboard.
person that got shot. So the first two were felons that had. How did those guys get guns?
Doesn't
What is
matter
that? That's relevant. If they were felons,
what would
how
it
did
matter
have
if they were?
guns?
What would it matter
They
if they were
pointed the gun
kiddies?
at him. It's on video. It's on video. What more do you need? It's on fucking video of both of them that pointed it at him. What the fuck? Are you saying that you can't defend yourself? If somebody punched you in the face, are you just going to sit there and go, well,
Nobody punched him in the face.
Hang on real quick. I'm going to jump in here.
Yeah, I just
If
don't
if I
understand
went to a
this.
party looking for a fight and
He
somebody
didn't go
punched
to a
me,
party looking for a fight. He was there for 3 days.
What was he doing there?
He's
Why
on
was he-
video, cleaning graffiti, helping people build storefronts. It's on video. It's on video. Why are you laughing? I don't understand that.
Because it
It's
fits.
like
It fits
It's
the
just the Eddie
narrative.
Murphy skit. It's the Eddie Murphy skit all over again. In the 80s, Eddie Murphy had that skit where his girlfriend saw him walking out of the house and he's like, wasn't me. And the girlfriend's like, but I saw you. She had your dick in your hand. Wasn't me. But you was coming out the house, baby. I swear it was you. Wasn't me. Well, maybe it wasn't you. Like, I'm with you. I think he's a fucking idiot either way. I'm just saying that I think the kid is a schloob. He's whatever the fuck, whatever name you want to come up with him. But to say in this country that you don't have a right to defend yourself, it's literally in the Constitution. It's like self-defense. Like, you're allowed to do that. And it's like you just eliminate any notion that these people were not coming after him. Like, why do you bring a gun to a peaceful protest? Why do you burn a city down in a peaceful protest? Answer that. What is the fucking point? And why didn't they burn, like here in Cleveland? You know what they burned down? They burned down my friend's business. They burned down her fucking business. But you know what they left alone? City Hall, the police department, the courthouse.
Does she have insurance?
But I'm saying, yeah, she has insurance. That's not the fucking point. She had to hide in the bathroom while 2 guys punched holes in the drywall to drag her and a 16-year-old kid out. What the fuck is that? What is that going to solve?
what does that have to do with the case?
But I'm saying that it was a Black Lives Matter rally that was happening for the Jacob Blake case.
Oh, do you know what a spasm? Hold on.
You can link stuff up like that, man.
Let me say something. Do both of you know what a spasm is?
Sure.
Okay, what is a spasm? A spasm.
It's an involuntary muscle movement,
or an involuntary pressure, or a cramping of the muscle.
Correct.
We have to remember this shit is not happening in a void. This is occurring within a context of a spasm of violence out of that is reacting to a spasm, not even a spasm, but a fucking overload of police murdering people indiscriminately in this country without
There's
due
no
process.
facts that back that up. There's no facts that back that up at all. None. Zero.
Well, then
there's no evidence. I'm just saying. There's no evidence.
There's no
I love
evidence.
you, but there's
no evidence everywhere, Joe. You're blind.
Those are people that are resisting arrest. Jacob Blake was resisting
just like
arrest.
the guy who got killed selling single cigarettes in front of a fucking pharmacy.
That I don't know that about.
Well, then you don't know anything. Move on to the next topic.
You're wrong. Let's move on to the next topic. But I still love you. And you know what? What is that? Agree to disagree. You choose to see shit the way you live it in Cleveland and not the way it is in the world. No, Cleveland's the most democratic city ever.
Your background dictates your worldview as an adult. You don't.
What is my background?
Your background is working class, and the opinions of the working class tend to skew in the fuck them, they deserve what they get mode. Don't tell me I've known you for a long time.
I don't. You've known me for a long time, but you don't know. Just like we both play ball. I hung out with black kids just like you did. It
doesn't make me friends with them. I used to
friends with them.
I used to sound just like you. I know who you are, and I know who I am.
Frank, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care what you sound like. That's your opinion. I'm saying that to sit there and say that this kid was not doing this in self-defense is just strictly going off of one piece of information. I'm just saying this particular case. Are there other cases where, yes, there's a lot of shitty cops out there, but to say that all cops have an agenda it's a bold statement. It's like the word racist, xenophobe, all that. That shit said way too much. Like, it said way too much. It said way too much. Like, I don't like your opinion. You're a fucking racist. I didn't say anything about race. What does that mean? Like, people are just saying shit to fucking say shit and not have anything to back it up. So it's like, in this case, I don't know this kid from Adam, but I knew that we were going to talk about it. I studied it. I've been watching it, and I'm trying to be objective because I do know my background, but I do know self-defense in this case was used. It's like, I think he's an idiot. I'm not a gun person either. I'm not a gun person, and you know that. I'm not a gun person. I think guns are for idiots. And this is exactly what happens. When a bunch of people bring guns, what the fuck happens? And now it's tearing our country apart. It's tearing our country apart. This last year, in my 53 years on this planet, I have never experienced anything like it.
Yeah, anything. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. But I gotta
have to table this.
Yeah, we gotta let Peter in.
I think we're gonna have to table this. I will say this, since I'm gonna say my opinion. His mama shouldn't have brought him across. His mama shouldn't have brought him there. He didn't need to go there. He had no business being there. You can't dispute any of those things. I do think people went after him after he pointed a gun at them. He might have been there 3 days. I don't care. I think the prosecution gets an unlimited budget. So even if you get a mistrial, they can retry it again. I think that's wrong. And then the defense only has a certain amount of money. I don't like that. And that's what's wrong with the justice system. But we should table this. We might do a whole damn episode next week on just this, apparently, the way you guys are talking. And so we had 7 other topics to talk about. Let's go ahead and bring in our guest.
Woo, Peter.
Okay, there's going to be lots of dogs.
I've been waiting for this for years. An old friend of the band's, the family. Peter's been we've all been friends for years. Frank's been in a band with him. Joe's done business with him. Peter actually sang lead for me at a charity event where I got to sing harmonies. He made me come over and rehearse one time to make sure I didn't fuck it up.
Frank, what are you going to say?
He's been in the band Squirrel Bait, Big Wheel, Star Billy, The Glass Pack, Fancy Pants, Hoss. Ladies and gentlemen, the local legend, the Louisville legend, the national punk legend that is David Grohl's favorite singer.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Searcy.
Peter fucking Searcy, man. Yes.
Peter's like, okay, thanks.
Jesus, Scott.
He's like, that's the most underwhelming intro ever.
I don't even know what to say.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on. We're glad you taking your time out to be here and kind of share, kind of stuff that we might not know and go over some of the stuff you've done, because man, you've had a fantastic career arc and you're still mid arc. You know what I mean? I feel like you're right in your hot spot still. You've got a lot of work to do, and you got a lot of work under your belt. Not a lot of people do that kind of stuff anymore, Peter. Talk about that.
Well, I certainly appreciate you saying that and thinking that it's hard sometimes, especially with the pandemic that happened, that kind of put a screeching halt on everything musically that I was doing. I had just put together probably one of the best live bands I've ever had down here, with some great players, and we were starting to play out live, and that was really feeling super rewarding. And that went away. And still is not, hey, Twiggy. This is
tambourine player.
Yeah, my dog really loves to hear these stories, really excites her. No, but we were just kind of getting going, and the pandemic hit. So I have a boatload of songs that are some of which are recorded and finished, and a lot of ideas, and still want to make music. It's just a weird place to be a 50-plus-year-old pop rock singer.
Right. There's nothing wrong with that.
You look great.
We're not our parents. Isn't that bizarre? At our age, our parents seemed like they were 100 years old.
Yeah, it's like when you were in second grade and you were 9 and your teacher was 22 and you thought she was 84. My favorite thing about when I did some research today, my favorite thing about Peter's Wikipedia page is, we all know this if you follow him at all on, and you can plug all your stuff if you'd like to. It says Peter Searcy, registered real estate agent.
Registered.
Yeah, nothing says rock and roll like that.
Hey, it happens. It's going on a lot, man.
I remember years ago seeing that one of the members of Belle Biv DeVoe was a realtor, and I'm like, if one of the members of Belle Biv DeVoe can be a realtor, guess what?
They're doing it.
Ronnie Bell, Ricky Bivens, or should I go on?
Yeah. You know, it's a natural progression for a lot of us. You know, I've got a theory on real estate and musicians. So as an original musician, you either get good at working on houses or waiting tables.
Yeah.
And I hated waiting tables. So I enjoyed working on houses. But at a certain point, I remember I was gutting a house, and I came out looking like a coal miner coming out of a coal mine from the turn of the century. And I'm like, I can't conceive of doing this any longer. And this was back in Louisville, and a guy named Walton Jones, who I was working with at the time, was like, man, you know everybody in Louisville, get your real estate license. And this was, gosh, you know, it's going on almost 20 years ago. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that you made that statement.
Talk about real estate with me. Come on.
No, yeah, I was going to tell you, it's funny. I'm sure there's a songwriter that you're familiar with, Dean Dillon, and he was talking about like the songwriters in general, but like the jobs that they possess. And he said that real estate or realtor was, whether it was waiter or waitress or realtor, he said was always one of those jobs that they seemed to transpose to or go to because they had good personalities. It was easy meeting people. And then that's when he said something like, well, if any coffee shop you go to in Nashville, the girl that's serving you your coffee is probably 100 times the musician you'll ever be. And I was like, I don't know, but so
it's true.
Well, it's a hustle job, man. It's a total hustle job. And it's also a job that, it makes sense to us. None of us, I've never had a steady paycheck ever, so it's all either come from music, side hustles, or now real estate. So it makes sense. But I budgeted my life. That's the way I've lived my life, which was kind of economy, and that I didn't have to worry about that. So
that's awesome.
That's cool. That's cool to kind of have a plan to know what you're gonna, what your baseline is, and just kind of just hit it all the way down the line and not compromise that. It takes a lot of I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. It takes a lot of discipline to do that. So
I did both, and because my mom said, find something you'll do, you'll never work a day in your life. She said, if you don't have 2 jobs, you're not working very hard. So I had one like job career.
What a shitty thing to say to a kid.
My mom's was a terrible human being.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying
those
are
the 2 things. Those are the 2 things she said that was good.
I know, but I mean, we are a highly evolved species at this moment, and the idea of having to have a side hustle to me is kind of obscene, considering that we work the longest typical work week in the world, and to feel like that it's a badge of honor. People kind of push the side hustle now, like, oh, what's your side hustle? Like it's required, like you're not maximizing your money potential. It's like, man, whoa, hold on,
the side hustle's pushed. When it's pushed in any kind of commercial on our TV, they just want you to spend more. They want you to make more so that you can spend more. So
right.
Yes. And by the way, I only have 1 job now.
Nice. Proud. Way to go.
What a quitter. What a loser.
I haven't gone to rehab yet.
Right.
So
Peter, what started your, not talking about specifically you starting playing an instrument or singing, what started your love for music, and where did it start, and what were you listening to as a kid, and what kind of music was around your house?
Well, so around my house, at my dad's house, was, a lot of just the normal Beatles and Stones.
Mhm.
And
So you were from an early divorce?
Yeah.
I didn't mean it.
very
I didn't
early.
mean it sarcastically. I meant like,
Yeah,
what age?
No, early. Parents were separated by 3.
Okay.
Oh,
So
wow.
at my dad's house, you had Beatles, you had Stones, but then he had, I'm trying to think, there was David Bowie, all the, just tons of records around, tons of, staying up watching, Saturday Night Live, and when it first debuted, kind of hippie household. My mom was a little bit more of the folksy kind of. Sorry, these guys know no bounds. They're just
Joni
gonna
Mitchell.
find us.
I understand.
And then my mom was more of the folk, James Taylor, Simon and Garfunkel, that kind of thing. So when I grew up on that stuff, and then I went to a school called the Brown School, and I was thinking about this the other day.
First Street.
Yep. There needs to, I almost think, there's documentaries everywhere. There needs to be a documentary about what was in the water at the Brown School during that era, because there are just so many different musicians and creative folks that came out of there.
Peter,
And it was long before YPass too.
and can
sure.
you, for us that didn't grow up in Louisville, maybe share
Brown
around
School,
or
when I first started there, was literally in the old Brown Hotel. And it was
Right. Oh,
an
wow.
alternative kind of school to the mainstream schools. I mean, if you've ever seen the movie Billy Jack, it's a lot like Freedom School.
Okay.
Put this boot on the
Yeah.
left side of your face.
Freedom
Never seen
School.
it. Never heard of it.
And so no class, the classrooms at that time were it was kind of open concept, call your teachers by the first name.
Oh, wow.
It was very forward thinking. And some of the musicians that came out of there, the people that were before me were like Janet Bean with 11th Dream Day.
Yeah.
Wolf Knapp, who went on to be an Antietam.
Mhm.
Wow.
So I looked up to these kind of people. And then you had me, you had Jonathan Palmer from Love Jones was there. You had Britt Walford, Brian McMahon, who were both in Squirrel Bait and Slint. You had Will Oldham, who, became Bonnie Prince Billy.
Yeah.
You had just a number of folks who went to the school that had a lot of success. Maybe not super mainstream, but a lot of really creative success.
Yeah, for people who were artistic and showing a lot of promise at a young age, naturally, and their parents thought this needs to be nurtured, not suppressed.
And
Right.
if you can imagine the movie Fame, that was the original Fame, and then they came up with YPass here in Louisville years later.
Well, but it wasn't even, it was just more of a nurturing school, just in general. Like if you had an idea, it wasn't frowned upon. And also as a middle schooler, I interacted with high school
Oh,
students.
wow.
Not interacting like getting shoved in a locker. It was
That was me.
It was interacting in a really.
Hey, you want my camera? Take it.
Really peaceful, kind of creative, supportive way. And so that school had a lot to do with my idea that I could make music and make original music. In fact, there was at the time, I didn't learn how to play anybody else's songs. I just learned how to play chords that I wanted to sing along to.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Is that when you learned how to play cello?
Well, I learned how to play cello I did the Suzuki method with violin as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother was a
Badass
teacher. Yeah, she was a piano teacher and played for the silent movies. And I learned, she kind of taught me some stuff. Then I started taking Suzuki violin. But then when I went to the Brown School, I left my violin on a city bus because we had to take the city bus to school.
Right.
And we had to take TARC. And I left my violin on the bus. So I figured I needed to play an instrument that was big enough that I couldn't lose it.
Oh my God, that's awesome. That is awesome.
I'm going to lose a tuba or a cello.
Now,
Yeah, you know, I'm surprised I never lost the cello, but yeah, that's how I started playing cello.
I have a Peter Searcy trivia question coming all the way, hailing from Saline, Michigan. And once I ask you this,
okay,
you might know who is asking this. It's a two-part question.
I have a feeling I know.
The question is it true that you faked your way into college by playing music by ear because you claimed that you could read music, but you just ended up just playing by ear and getting in? Is that a true statement?
That's I could rudimentarily read music.
Right.
But
Yeah.
not to the level I should have been. You know, I had a stand partner in high school at the Brown School who was really good, and all I would do was just listen to her and play exactly what she played, and you know, managed to get into college on a scholarship. And then when we got into orchestra, stop guys, we got into the orchestra, and they moved a little too fast. I couldn't keep up with it. There was a lot of stuff, and I quickly figured out with my Louisville, I had a scholarship to U of L, that I was not going to be a performance. I didn't have the discipline.
Right.
I did not want to be a music teacher. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It just wasn't what I wanted to do.
Right.
And also during that time, I was also in a van touring around doing, you know, starting to do squirrel bait stuff, doing some fancy pants, you know.
Yeah.
Who wants to go play in an orchestra pit when you could be in a van?
Yeah. Yeah. So the same. Go ahead.
Now, was the Suzuki method? That's kind of like a fake. That's kind of like the faking, kind of a by visual and by rote thing, isn't it?
I had a Suzuki 50.
Suzuki 50. I had a Suzuki method that taught me how to play. No, it really. They teach you to play by ear.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you have a good ear to begin with or born with, which, you know, I'm kind of blessed with that.
Yeah.
They really hone that.
Okay.
So, and I didn't even, you know, you don't know you're honing it. You're playing songs, you know, you're playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in a gazillion different ways. But you're learning at the same time. But it also, I took advantage of it too, because you know, if you play me something once, I can generally play it right back to you. So.
Right.
There you go. So, and then now this same individual, who I will name, is an individual named Tim Padalin from up at the Loft Studios in Saline, Michigan. You and I actually have him in common.
Yeah.
But he wanted me to ask you, in fact, as late as this evening, he says, please ask Peter why bands do not rehearse enough anymore. And he said he would be dying to hear that answer from you.
Well, I'm a rehearser. I love to rehearse. I think it's important. I think, you know, it drives me up a wall when I go see a band and they've got an iPad on stage.
God, that's
or a
my
music. We saw a show the other night, just a cover band that we went out to see. There were 3 music stands. I'm like, what's an orchestra gonna come up? You know,
they probably had it on there, like some cheat sheet. They have them now. They have all the. I see people with those all the time.
Yeah, no, it's, you know, I think a lot of people. I don't think people join a band anymore as much as they're in bands.
Right.
So I think that's why you might not have as many people rehearsing, because, you know, when we were younger, we joined a band.
Yeah.
That meant we're practicing 3 to 4 days a week. I'll meet you, you know, we've got our practice here, and here.
Yeah.
When you reach a certain level of proficiency,
yeah,
you're the bass player, you're the drummer in 4 different bands. And so that might be why there's not as much rehearsals. But also, if you don't want to rehearse, you don't love music.
Yeah.
I mean, but what's better than getting together with 3 to 4 other musicians, hanging out and making some music?
Somebody was talking to me about this, and I kind of agreed with them. And Frank, I know you'll agree with this, because we were all so young when we joined bands for the first time. And the statement that this person made to me was, we didn't really join a band. We joined like a movement. Like we joined bands when it wasn't cool, at least what we thought it wasn't cool to be in band. Like we're talking a period like when, there were a lot of squares around, there were, the jocks, the this, the that. And at least for me, I joined a band as kind of like an escape because I was a theater nerd. Like yourself, I had a music teacher that was inspiring, but yet I felt like I joined a movement. Like when I joined a band, it just took me away from everything. And I just don't see any of that. Period. End of story. Like there are a handful of artists that I'll see. Well, I feel like, what's that saying? The Sam Phillips saying, I don't believe you. That's kind of how I feel when I watch or listen to music now. And it's just like, I feel like when we were all younger as musicians, it was everything to us. Like it was like live, breathe, shit, and die with this. I don't know if I'm off base on that, but maybe you can expand.
I fully agree with you.
Yeah.
It was I personally was lucky to go to a school that I felt very, like I said, nurtured and safe in.
Yeah.
But I also wanted my own tribe within that. And that was, that was music. And, and writing. I mean, like I said, I didn't learn how to play a cover song first. I learned how to write a song first.
Okay. Am I allowed to ask you, what was the first song that do you remember the first song you wrote and what it was called?
It was an instrumental.
Oh, really?
And it never had a name.
And how old were you?
Oh, probably 6th grade or something like that.
Oh, really? Oh, that early. Oh my God. Yeah. Wow.
And but I also know that it was like just a little finger picking thing my dad had shown me. And I think it's also a little bit of a rip off of some of the music from Journey to the Center of the Earth by Rick Wakeman.
Oh my God, that movie. Oh wow.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I dug deep there.
Wow, yeah, that's a very deep question. There's also, I hear a rumor going around, this is not on your Wikipedia page, but perhaps it should be, that in your earlier vocal days, that you would record just straight into a 57 in the control room. You would just, and it would be 1 or 2 takes, and you felt that was it. And I was being told by a couple people that I've actually heard a couple of those takes. They were fucking amazing. I forgot you can swear on this, but I've heard it. They were fucking amazing. And I was like, wait, this is him singing into a 57? And yeah, I could not believe that. I couldn't believe how awesome it was.
I love good guitars, but I don't think, I know great mics are supposedly great, but
right.
I think the 57 and the 58 are 2 of the greatest microphones ever made. And if you position a 57 just right in front of speakers facing you, so speakers are here, the microphone's here facing away from the speakers. So you got some bleed that's coming through there.
That's awesome.
There's a reason the 57 has been around for like 80 years.
Yeah, it's a reason a drummer can thwack it a gazillion times a night and it still lives. But I love, and plus, singing with a set of headphones into a $5,000 to $10,000 Neumann.
Yeah.
That's not my reality.
Yeah.
A 57 with music blaring at me feels like I'm on stage.
Yeah.
That's with a band.
It's like Robert Plant. Isn't that what Plant did? Robert Plant did that same thing, right? I believe so.
I would rather give up some of the audio, whatever clarity to get a performance.
The syrup is what we like to call
it. Nobody's gonna, end of the day, somebody with some headphones on is gonna be dissecting it. No.
Yeah.
They just want to hear a great performance.
Hey, want to bet?
Yeah, there you go. This guy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's incredible to think about. So when you got to U of L, and then
University of Louisville.
I'm sorry. Of course. When you got to University of Louisville, do you think there was a choice that had to be made? Like, was there a point at school where you had just mentioned that you knew you didn't want to be a teacher, but you were also writing, and I'm just being frank, some kick-ass music at that time. Was there a point in your life where you were like, well, I better take a swing at this and see if this hits, because if I don't, then, in other words, there's so many things where kids are in school and they're talented, right? And they're afraid to take that. And I would be interested to hear because there's so many kids that are, especially kids that are in school for music, that, maybe sometimes because they're in school that's what stops them from, taking that leap of faith. And it sounds like you did it.
It wasn't that thought out.
Okay.
Number one, I started to fail out because I was not interested in it.
Okay.
I felt guilty because I had a scholarship that I was going free to school, and I kept thinking there's somebody else who might not have had the audition that I had that would appreciate this more. And and also, I'm not afraid to say it. A lot of people from that punk rock world were afraid to say that they wanted to be successful. Yeah. I wanted to be successful in music. Now, not to the tune of moving to LA or Nashville or anything like that, but I thought, that was an era where you had people from Athens, you had people from different, it would end up being Seattle. It wasn't that at that time, but you had like Athens, which was just a college town, and people were being successful musicians out of it. So I didn't think you needed to do that if what you were doing was good enough.
Right.
But it wasn't, as far as there was no grand plan as far as leaving school. I literally was just doing so crappy at school that
That's awesome.
I wasn't really putting much into it at that point.
Right.
I would show up for all the rehearsals and convocations, but I really couldn't give two hoots about a lot of it. So
and I think that all of us have probably at least 3 more questions for you. I just want to make sure you're okay on time.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm just hanging out. Sorry, my dogs keep trying to hunt me.
No. See my dog right there?
Yeah.
My wife's out of town. I'm going to ask you a question, and this is coming up because I'm babysitting. I'm a single dad this weekend because my wife is literally on a flight to Dallas.
What do you got going on? You've got some new music coming out. Did you lock yourself in a room for a year and write like 600 songs like we know you can during the pandemic? And is the first song going to be named The Pandemic Blues? That's my only question.
No, it is
okay.
not. No.
Okay, I'm just checking.
I definitely have. So I've got about 5 or 6 songs recorded.
Okay.
And super happy with them. I really got into doing most of my own guitar playing.
Oh, wow.
Which, it's like coloring with like 5 crayons when I play guitar. So, I've only got the skills I have, but I started
I don't think I've ever heard that ever before in my life.
Think about it.
Oh, man.
But I've got, there's some great players down here. I've really found a great drummer that I really enjoy playing with. My buddy Greg Lee, who's recorded with me for years. He's the bass player in Yacht Rock Review. Toured with me, was on all my solo albums. He's down here.
Oh, wow.
Actually, the guitar player from Yacht Rock Review has been playing on some of my stuff, and my gosh, he's Mark Donnells. He's incredible to play with. She's going wild.
All right.
So I've got about 5 or 6 songs recorded, and then last year I did a song, and recently the Louisville Orchestra just performed it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was crazy. I came back into Louisville, and they did a concert. It was called the Concert for Unity, and it was a song about the pandemic specifically. And yeah, they took my song and orchestrated the whole thing, arranged it, and I performed it with them.
What a full circle moment for you. I mean, if you really think about it, just from the conversations we were just having about, that moment in your life where you're like, well, I'm not really down with this, to have your song orchestrated.
Well, it was even a bigger full circle because as a slacker youth, I worked for the Louisville Orchestra.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. So I was a stagehand. So when I walked out on stage, I'm still friends with a couple of the orchestra members, but we did the song, we ran it, and then the Teddy Abrams and I were talking, he was asking me some questions in front of the orchestra, and I said, yeah, I used to be a stagehand for you guys, and then he asked, who was the conductor, and it was Lawrence Layton Smith at the time, and he turned around to the orchestra and said, how many of you guys were here under Lawrence Layton Smith? And probably a third of the orchestra members raised their hand or bow.
Oh, wow.
Which is incredible because that was roughly around 30 years ago.
Wow.
It shows the longevity of the players in the orchestra, but it was incredible. I got to stand on stage and have one of my songs performed by the orchestra and sing over the top of that. It was, unfortunately, it was over before it started, with a 3.5 minute song, just about the time I'm like, let's keep going, let's, but it was really incredible.
Talk about your love and your performance doing Jesus Christ Superstar. I know you love that production.
I've got amazing news about that.
Okay.
So Mark Donnell's from Yacht Rock, Greg Lee from Yacht Rock, and I have almost recorded the entire album. Mark Donnell's is doing all the. Frank, I'll send you a copy of it. You got to keep it. Here, we don't know. Right. We don't know what we're gonna do about it, but we're doing different takes on it.
Okay.
Wow.
So like the opening of Jesus Christ Superstar, we've got it sounding like kind of metal, like just really. And then there's like Herod's song has like a second line feel to it.
Okay. Yeah.
And I will tell you this, like it was kind of my idea with Donnell's and Greg. Mark Donnell's is the one who's putting it all together.
Right.
And it sounds spectacular. And we're going to get some different singers from Atlanta to do it.
Wow.
But it's over the top. And I'm singing the Judas parts. Greg Lee from Yacht Rock is doing Jesus.
Wow.
Donnell's is doing all the music on it. And you should really check. I mean, the Yacht Rock Review guys they're all great players from Atlanta. They sell out Irving Plaza. They sell out, any kind of mid-level place they go. And I'm talking like 1,500 seaters.
Right.
They sell them out
and they're really good on social media.
Yeah. And they're all just guys like you, like all of us. They're all longtime players who found a niche. They all think it's crazy that this is the thing that hit for them.
Right.
But it's massive. When they play their big shows in the summertime here, there's 6,000, 7,000 people at Chastain Park.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
For their shows.
So,
of all the things that people strive for, to be young and ambitious in playing music, it's weird what finally clicks or what finally, gets you in front of the 6,000 or 7,000 people sometimes.
That's what Greg Lee, one of my best friends and bass player who's played with me and bass player in Yacht Rock, has said, like, of all the things, this is the one that hits. Yeah. Now, in my heart, it hurts me a little bit to look out in the world and see, it's not even a cover band anymore. People don't go, I guess cover bands do their thing, but now it's specialized. Now you have to be a tribute to REO Speedwagon. Yeah. Now you have to be the tribute to Triumph. Yeah. It's a little demoralizing as an original musician that for the most part, most people over, a certain age don't give two flying fucks about it. They just want to go out and know that they're going to see their favorite songs done well.
Right.
And at least the tribute bands, when they do it, I think they try to do the best job they can at it.
Right.
But it is a little demoralizing.
Yeah. But with something like Yacht Rock, that is more of a lifestyle and a mindset as opposed to just doing a straight tribute. That's kind of a lifestyle, like a Jimmy Buffett thing almost.
Yeah.
don't
Well,
even
I
have
mean,
to like Jimmy Buffett.
here's the thing. I think they've been doing it for close to 15 years now.
Oh wow.
So this is not like something, they're not jumping on a train of this. They're really, you know, they're committed. They're all family people. They make a living doing this.
Right.
This is their only job at this point.
Yeah.
You know, they did make a great album last year that unfortunately came out, or a year before last, unfortunately came out like in March of 2020.
Wow. Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah. Bad timing.
But you know, making music, making money playing music as you get older becomes it becomes a kind of even sweeter, I'm sure, to be able to make a decent living just doing what you love. So that goes a long way.
Frank, you and I did a tribute one time, three times.
We did absolutely. We did a
Black. What was the tribute to?
Black Sabbath. It was called Searcy Bloody Sabbath.
Ooh.
It was pretty great, man. That was super fun. I would love to do that again.
I would love to. It had you and Eric Horton and me and Ryan Murphy on the drums. It was great. And it was, but it wasn't, you know, there were no wigs involved, thank goodness.
And don't forget about wig, Frig. And don't forget about mine and Ryan Murphy's tribute band, Slave Against the Machine, which
that Peter was not in.
That Peter was not in, but
we won't forget.
It's all about me. It's all about me.
Hashtag it's all about me. Just remember that. So let's switch gears real quick, if that's okay. Because honestly, if I see another cover band, I'm gonna puke. Let alone so. You've been an original musician your whole life,
right?
You know, paying attention to the things that you're saying here. How do you feel about younger artists? I have a son that's original musician, and they're out there. It's really hard. It's like ADD music. There's so many options. Nobody really wants to help any young artists out anymore. And hearing anything really good original wise, it's I don't want to say it's few and far between, because I've actually heard some good stuff lately. But what is your, I guess, the Peter Searcy state of where music is at today for original music? Because let's be honest with you. I mean, like we all joined a band because we all wanted to stand on that stage, hold that microphone up and have someone sing our songs, not sing someone else's songs. And you've been very lucky to do that. And I just would love to get your take on the original scene of what you feel where it might be for at least our genre of music.
Well, I mean, I think there's more opportunity, and I think there's less opportunity. You know, I don't think there are the same kind of scenes that we had when we were younger, but I also think that, you know, the ability to record music now at home versus having to save up. I mean, it's a versus saving up, practicing to get ready to go in the studio because you've saved up that money and you're going to go in there for 6 hours and you better be ready to go. Because we're on the clock. I think there's something beautiful about that, but there's also something beautiful about the ability to sit down and just be creative and not worry about a clock ticking, and also to be able to record. Amazing.
I mean, and I always found recording when I was younger that it was more about just not making a fucking big mistake. You know, when you're playing, you just try to get it as we get it and hope nobody screws the pooch really big time, so we can move on really quick, not have to do it the same song 40 times and waste all your money, which you don't have any of.
Well, I don't think there's probably as many kids today sitting on the corner of their bed running through scales and arpeggios and playing. There are still, but not to the extent that there might have been, because, you know, how can they? There's so much more out there, you know, and that's, you're not going to have those virtuoso players like you would have with Randy Rhoads and those kind of guys.
Yeah.
But you're going to have some special creative people who are going to come that are going to be amalgamation of, you know, of the video games they're playing, of the anime they're watching, of the songs they're listening to. They're going to come together and make some stuff that's going to be different. Now, is it going to appeal to me? Probably not. But it's not for me.
Right.
You know, at a certain point, it's just you can't even think it's for you. It's not for you.
Right.
The fact that you get it or you might like it is kind of mind-boggling, you know, to somebody who's a lot younger. You Yeah, and you
as
just
long as I can appreciate I just want to appreciate the creativity
right.
of it. So,
Yeah.
it's just such a different world. I can't even, I
I
don't think there's a place where, 50 or 60 kids are hanging out,
yeah.
waiting for the next band to load in.
Yeah.
Standing around.
If I was a kid now, I wouldn't feel restrained by, I wouldn't feel like I had any restraints musically as far as stylistically, because there's so much out there and there's so much available, and the technology is so killer at such a low price point, getting you into actually recording music. I would think that anything's in play these days, and they would be so exciting to be young and have all this technology at my fingertips that obviously you just dream and you think, oh, I'll never be able to do something like that. Well, kids now can do it.
And you can release a song.
Yes.
My
Somebody
oldest,
on the other side of the world can hear it tomorrow.
Right.
my oldest stepson. Why am I so loud all of a sudden? Does anybody know what happened there?
No.
But my oldest stepson, he is doing it. He's living the dream. He lives out in California, and they just played Rockville. What is that? Down in Florida. They've done
South Carolina.
Yeah, they've done. No, it was Florida, so it was something else.
It's a festival. It's a yearly festival.
They've played Louder Than Life in Louisville a couple times.
Great.
And they're a young band. We talk all the time about it, where it's like you talk about the technology. He's been playing guitar since he's 5, but they're just 3 kids that don't give a shit, and I love that. But when you listen to their music, it's definitely a throwback. But the challenge that they face is that there's so much they just surpassed 2.5 million streams on one of their songs, and they're an unsigned band, and record labels are still I'm like, oh my God, as a kid, I'm like, if we sold 2.5 million singles, there would be record companies lining up at the door to do that, so it's just bizarre. They're playing they're making the right moves. They did the Howard Stern show. They're doing all the right things, but it just seems like they're, he asked me and I try to stay out of it. The only thing worse than a soccer mom is a band dad. I try to stay out of it and let them, like you had mentioned, Peter, have that raw moment, that moment, when we were younger, Frank had mentioned too, you don't want to screw up, man, this is it. Because I feel like that's where the magic happens. And that's why maybe not so much magic is happening now, right? Like what you had talked about, when you got together with your friends, it was like, oh my God, it's us against them. And you waited for 60 days to make all this money. To me, that is something it's building something, right? To where something magical happens, to whereas, I see some stuff now and I'm just like, and like you said, it might not be my cup of tea, but I'll respect them for doing it. But I just don't see that magic anymore. Unless it's on American Idol or something, I mean, it's just crazy.
Well, maybe it's not a magic that we can see.
Yeah. Maybe it's passed us by.
Yeah. No. And that's okay. I mean, maybe it's not for our eyes. So
I agree with that. I agree.
Dave, I said Dave because I was talking about Dave Grohl. Peter, tell me, I mean, I'm sure you've told this story a million times and I'm sure you hate it. But I think anybody listening to this story, man, I mean, it's obvious. It's been, reported that you were his favorite punk band when he was growing up. Then he brings you up in Lexington. How does this whole thing come about? And you get the phone call.
I think he was in Atlanta.
No. So,
Lexington?
Nope. So what it was I'm friends from way back with the Foo Fighters tour manager. His name's Gus Bryant, and he didn't have my number for years, and he ran into somebody who gave it to him. So he texts me. He's like, "Hey, Gus here. It's a long time, haven't talked to you in a while." And he said, "Anytime you want to come out to see the Foo Fighters, just let me know." Stephanie is a huge Foo Fighters fan, and I love them too. She's a mega fan, and so they were coming to Birmingham. So I said, "Hey, Gus, can we come out to the Birmingham show?" He said, "Yeah, by all means." So we come out to the show. We're getting ready to go in. We've got backstage passes, and all that kind of good stuff. And he goes, brush up on your, he sends me a text and it says, brush up on your SB lyrics, meaning squirrel bait. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, Dave wants to do Sun God. I'm like, okay, well, haven't sang it in a lot of years, but we'll see. So there's 2 sets of backstage passes for the Foo Fighters. This is pre-pandemic. There's like the Rami room, which is like the room for probably like local DJs and that kind of stuff. And then there's a regular
watch it.
There you go. And then there's a backstage pass where you literally just backstage roaming around.
Right.
So we get Gus, the tour manager comes, brings us the passes and says, you know, come on, I'm going to take you to meet Dave. And we're underneath in Birmingham's, you know, probably holds 18,000 arena and long hallway, lots. I mean, I remember it, you know, memory burn.
Right.
Long hallway, fluorescent lights. I see Dave at the end of the hallway. He sees me. He starts running at me with his arms out. And I'm like, this is surreal. This is weird. And he comes up, gives me a big hug. We're start talking. He's like, it's weird. He's like, it's weird when you get starstruck. He's telling me this, which is bizarre. And he said, you know, it's happened a couple times. Like he said, I got really kind of weird and starstruck around Tony Bennett. He said, I'm feeling that a little bit now. And he's such a nice guy. And sometimes, you know, I wonder if it's all like,
all shucks,
really,
you know,
hyperbole.
You know, but I've never seen a chink in that armor to where you think that it's not. And so he goes, hey, do you want to do Sun God tonight? And I said, well, as long as we can run it one time, because I'm a practicer.
You always do that.
Yeah. And he goes, yeah. He's like, we can. So I had a huge panic. I'm like, let me make sure I got the words right and all. I couldn't get internet service. And then we're hanging out and doing shots with him backstage and just super affable, and Pat Smear back there.
Peter, you didn't have an iPad on stage with you, did you?
Heck no.
I had to ask. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And so then they have a backstage area that has a full rehearsal space in it with PA, combo amps, everything. Pretty much before every show, they go back there and run 3 or 4 songs. So Steph and I got to stand in that room, nobody else in there, and have our own Foo Fighters. Like they ran through 4 or 5 songs. And I'm telling you, they run those songs at 110%.
Right.
They, in rehearsal, they're playing just as hard. And if you ever wondered what Pat Smear does, I stood right behind his combo amp, and it was incredible. It was the tightest playing, just there, it was literally the glue. And then Dave and I ran the song, and then, you know, he apologized to me. He's like, it's really obnoxious. We do like a 2-hour and 45-minute show, and we're bringing you out on the encore, so you got to hang out. So for like literally like almost 3 hours, I had to wait to go on stage
and ponder.
So, ponder how can I screw this up? But
or have a panic attack.
You know, I'm very confident about a couple things, and singing is one of them.
Oh, awesome!
And there's plenty of things I'm not, but that was.
Yeah.
And you know, walked out and, you know, played the song with him. He nailed it. I screwed up parts of it. He didn't screw up. He doesn't screw up. He's incredible.
Yeah.
He broke a string during the song, which is, according to his, I've never seen him break a string, and I've probably seen 5 or 6 shows. And his guitar tech says he doesn't break strings. So he must have been really hammering the heck out of that guitar.
He was feeling it.
Yeah. So it was, and I'll tell you, to this day, they were just in town a couple weeks ago, and we went out to see him, and, you know, hanging out backstage, and he continues to be really kind to myself, Stephanie, and Stephanie's son, Lindsay. You know,
that's awesome.
Super nice. We're going to go see him. We're going to be in Vegas the first week in December, and they're playing out there at the same time we're out there for a conference. So
as a regular old Louisville kid, what does experiencing someone showing you that love of what you're in, how you inspired them, what does that feel like? Someone who has obviously has his own resume, that's respectable.
Well,
On top of that, what Frank's saying, what's it like being a legend to some people?
It's hard to fathom. But I also know somebody like Dave Grohl comes from this. I'm 1 year older. He's a Capricorn. I'm a Capricorn. I'm 1 year older than him. We grew up in the same era, and we were doing the same exact things. Bob Mould is coming here in February. Bob Mould is that to me.
He's been singing your praises for a lot of years.
Yeah, but he's but I
you're your guy.
Yeah, that's what changed my life musically.
Yeah.
And so hearing something like that from Dave, I mean, I just feel like he's a peer, but I understand because I had an earlier start than him, how it could have influenced him. But I was doing the same thing buying Husker Du's Zen Arcade.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a never ending, it's kind of like a never ending wheel or a never ending circle. I mean, these people like you are, it's like this just hand me down theory of influence as far as the people who came from where you came from, underground bands and bands who weren't on major labels, bands who did everything themselves. And I'm sure it's got a whole different level of things because you were so young, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that was so long ago. And that's who you are, but it's not who you've been since then. You've had so many changes and you've shaded who you are and as an artist so much, but it's weird. I think I mentioned this before to you. It must be strange to still get people kind of fawning over things that you did when you were 16 or 17.
It is, but I think the older, there was some bitterness towards it at certain points in my life, and now there's not, because you make peace with yourself and you understand that at 17 years old, I did something pretty great.
Yeah.
And it resonates still to this day.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
Am I proud of the song that I wrote, a couple months ago? Yes. But I also did things in my past that had a wider market and had a wider
audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. The funny thing is that the story that you just told is the first time I've ever heard it. And hearing what you're saying about Dave, I don't know if you realize this, but you two are almost like your story and his story are almost, mirror images. Cause obviously Dave came from the DC punk scene before he even ever joined. And Dave was a bigger Pat Smear fan, who is, by the way, one of my favorite
the
ever.
Germs.
Oh my God. And it's funny that you brought up what he plays. It's like, anyways, I digress. But what your story and what you had just told me, it's almost like I think that's why Dave feels the way he does about you. And I'm just speculating, but hearing your story, it sounds almost exactly like what his story is. So he can kind of relate to that, because even though, yes, you were this amazing, you did some things when you were 17, you were so young that, now that you're older, you can appreciate that, to where I think Dave, through the Foo Fighters, looks back on his Nirvana time and kind of feels that same way of, I was so young when that all happened and it seemed like a flash in the pan. And now that I'm older, it's almost like the difference between a parent and a grandparent, it's like you get to, like you said, the song you wrote 2 months ago is just as good, if not better, than the stuff you wrote when you were 17. It just clicked. So like sometimes that magic happens. And I think that's what they talk about, like kindred spirits. And especially with musicians, you find these people that they gravitate towards your energy that maybe you created a long time ago, but yet that energy that you created a long time ago still burns in them and is that chip on their shoulder that gives them what they do today. And that's a huge, not just responsibility, but it's a huge like privilege. I always think that what we do as musicians, regardless of whether you're selling out Wix or the Yum Center. You know, it's a responsibility, and it's also a privilege, you know. So
Well, so
yeah.
somebody like Dave doesn't see a lot of difference between Paul McCartney and what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, he really doesn't. I mean, now there's a great difference between, you know, what I see between myself and Paul McCartney, but he doesn't. When he sees me, he sees that same, you know, what he thought of when he heard me. And the same thing for Paul. He treats a lot of musicians that way, and he brings them into his orbit. He's a good guy, man.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Right.
I mean, that's just an awesome story. That's
Would
what
all
you
of
want to
all-
hear.
Would all of you all agree that, I mean, if you can go through different times, different periods of time, like Metallica or whatever it is, Linkin Park, blah, 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 all the way up, would you agree that the Foo Fighters are the #1 rock band in the world right now?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
have been for probably the past 5 or 6, 7 years.
I can't quit listening to the Foo Fighters.
And they've
And
never
I've
stopped
been a
touring.
fit. Oh, and I for one of the benefits that Frank and I did for someone, I gave up my Foo Fighters autographed drum head, and I regret it to this day. It got like $400 for the charity, but I'm like, damn it, I still wish I had that
Well,
on my wall.
They're not too proud to get out there and
Right.
do it. There's nothing. They make nothing precious about what they do. They just get out there and rock and deliver a almost 3-hour show.
Yeah.
And I think that's what endears them to people.
Yeah.
Now, you know, if they held out and didn't play for 5 years, could they sell out, you know, stadiums? Yes. But they don't choose to do that. They choose to keep playing and going around and selling 18 to 15,000 tickets.
And I think their pedigree coming from the beginnings that a lot of those guys came from is absolutely essential in how they're handling, how they approach their lives and their job as an adult, you know, just going, like you said, just going out and doing the hard work, just going out and rock and just laying it all out there. And, you know, because if you didn't give it all back when, you know, y'all were young, you know, it was obvious. If you weren't feeling it and you weren't that guy, you weren't in the band, or you didn't get the nod, or, you know, you were the odd man out.
One of my favorite things that Dave does, and it's Dave in particular, and the band, I guess the band does, but to me, as somebody that, you know, my first concert was Van Halen with Hagar, or with Halen, Diamond Dave, excuse
Roth.
me, but yeah, Roth. One of my favorite things that Dave does is, I really feel he feels that connection to keep these younger generation of players going. And I love when he calls these kids up on stage to jam. And I can't say enough about that. Like, you know, Kiss Guy and a couple of these other guys. I mean, I think it's so awesome that
Mandy the drummer.
Yeah, that was awesome. And I mean, he keeps that.
Great.
I love how him and Jack Black kind of play off of the younger youth, the youth of the younger rockers. And I mean, it's cool that Dave's like, hey, can you play? Okay, boom. And if you're a kid sitting in that audience, could you imagine if one of your heroes calls you up there and what that does for your life? So it's neat. Yeah. It's electric. It's an electric feeling. I got to tell you.
Yep.
Now, Peter, I'm kind of jumping forward, but tell us about your solo career, and I know you were in Big Wheel, and you were in Star Billy for a long time, and that was kind of a regional act, as was Big Wheel. Let's talk about how you are as a solo guy. What's cooking with you, and let's talk about being a solo guy. What's cooking?
So, you know, I did bands for a long time, and Star Billy, we toured a lot, and we had some success, some regional success. But I felt like it left me with a taste of not wanting to be in a band again.
Really?
I didn't want to be beholden to any band musicians. I didn't want to be beholden to any style.
Huh.
So Star Billy had, I forget which label it was, Lava Atlantic.
Don't bring that up.
Yeah, had sent us up to Saline, Michigan to work with a producer named Tim Padalin, who was brought up earlier.
Right.
And Star Billy did our best recordings that we ever did while we were up there. But I also feel like Tim as having worked with a ton of bands, could feel the tension within us.
Right.
And Tim took me aside during that and said, if things don't work out, you come back up here and we'll work on some songs together. And at about that same time, I decided to, Star Billy decided to close up shop, and I moved to Atlanta. My manager at the time was here. And it was great because I moved here knowing I was going to work on songs and knowing that I was going to get to work on them with a really great producer.
Right.
So Tim was really instrumental in helping my solo career happen and making the first solo album that I did with him.
Okay.
And so we kind of honed those songs for a little bit and then started shopping them around and got, some really good, we were included in on some unsigned act kind of things where, that was a big thing. They'd put CDs together of bands, but.
Now, was this post or pre Time Bomb recording?
Oh, this is pre Time Bomb.
Okay.
So I ended up signing got courted by a number of different labels and offered by a number of different labels. I ended up signing with Time Bomb because they felt the most indie rock to me, but they also had Arista Records behind them. And at the time, Arista was a huge record label. And so I felt like I was going to get the indie attention that I needed.
Correct.
With a huge label behind us. And that's what ended up. Yeah, that's what ended up happening. Unfortunately, and other couple things happened. Napster happened.
Ouch.
And we delivered on what we had to for Arista, which was we had a #1 song in a couple different secondary markets.
Mm-hmm. Losing Like Fast.
Invent.
Oh, really?
Invent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Losing Like Fast did well, but Invent was a #1 song. Losing Like Fast was top 10 song in like Albany, New York, and a couple of these other like mid-level places. Invent was getting a lot of legs. Invent was a #1 song in Birmingham, Alabama, which had a tastemaker of a station there at the time. And right as that's all happening, I guess the shareholders feel like it's really a good time to oust Clive Davis from Arista.
Yeah,
Right.
Clive Davis never did anything.
So they oust Clive Davis, who goes on to form J Records, which ends up being huge. And then they bring in L.A. Reid, who L.A. Reid came out to see me play at Irving Plaza, was very nice and, shook hands backstage. But I don't even think it was just me. He didn't want anything to do with any of the subsidiaries that had been there before. So Time Bomb ended up labelless. They didn't have a backer.
Yeah. And I know Mike Ness, who put out a good record at the same time, he suffered kind of the same death via Time Bomb.
Well, yeah. Jim Garino was the guy who ran Time Bomb, and he was a big music manager. And there were I feel like I made a lot of tactical mistakes where I listened to other people.
Right.
And, I listened to him in some places. I listened to some other people in some places. A little frustrating. Am I still alive and happy? Yes.
Right.
So
lessons learned.
But yeah. So then after that, I didn't have a label. I made another album. My manager helped pay for it, and it never really came out. And I think it's one of my best. It's called Trust Falls. And, Butch Walker produced a couple songs on it. A guy named Johnny Andrews, who's gone on to write for, he's written and produced for Fozzy, for Apocalyptica, for 3 Days Grace, kind of a more metal guy, produced it. Yeah, and it's a great album. And then after that, ended up on Universal for a short amount of time. And, I always tell people my career looks like a cardiograph.
Right.
Yeah.
Every time I count it out, like literally right now, it's right now it's on the cardiograph. It's just straight line right now. You know what's going to happen?
What's that?
something's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel it. I mean, seriously, that's your due, right? It's that time.
It's weird. It just always does. I mean, I've been talking to Tim Paddleton about doing some more tunes. You know, we just kind of keep trying to coordinate it. So hopefully that's going to work out. 1 second. Can we pause for 1 second?
Yes. You want to play a song after we come back from this 1 second?
Yeah, we'll come back. Yeah,
Okay.
I just need to hit the restroom real quick.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Peter Searcy joining us here on It's Gonna Get Weird with Joe Tubal, Frank Green. I'm Scott Clark. It's Gonna Get Weird 369 is it's Gonna Get Weird 369 at gmail.com is the email address. And we are honored to have Peter Searcy here, and he's gonna play us a song. And we're all gonna mute so we can listen to Peter.
I'm gonna try.
Get him,
so,
man.
We were talking about newer songs, so I'm gonna play a newer song. So this is it's called Secret Sky. I wrote it a couple of years ago, but it's never been released yet. Got a full recording of it. Frank, I sent you a version of it, so you're welcome to.
I've got it. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna give this a whirl. 2, 3. Na 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 na. Well, there's a secret sky that shines above us. It only shows when we turn out the lights. Roll on your back and you pointed at the ceiling. You said to me, let me show you the night. Na 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 na. Well, there's a song that only plays when we're together. Don't know who sings it, but it sounds so fine. So now the moon loves to find your heart. Secret stars draw me to your side. Some things are just for you and me, baby. Some things are meant for us to see. So be here with me under the secret sky. Be here with me under the secret sky. Na 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 na. There's an ocean of blankets between us. I'm trying to find you in the rising tide. Send all my ships out to find your harbor. Secret stars draw me to your side. Things are just for you and me, baby. Some things are meant for us to see. So be here with me under the secret sky. Now be here with me under the secret sky. When I hear the sound of waves crashing through the window, and I try and tell myself that's what they are. Truth is, it's just cars on a freeway, and it's just us in this room under plastic stars. Oh, so be here with me under the secret sky. Be here with me under the secret sky. Now, be with me now. Be with me now. Be with me now. Be with me now under the secret sky. Na 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 na.
Right on, man. Awesome. Love it. Now, how long ago did you write that?
I have to unmute. Hold on first. God damn it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
That was awesome.
how long-
I hate you. I hate you.
How long ago did you write that, Peter?
It's about, actually that one's about 4 years old. Recorded it with, I can't remember who played drums on that one.
Graham,
What's that?
was it Graham Goff?
No, it wasn't Graham. No, that one was
Artemis Pyle.
it might have been Mike Rizzi or Artemis Pyle. You could probably get Artemis Pyle down here.
Probably,
it was
yeah.
either Mike Rizzi or no, actually it was a guy named Jerry. Gosh.
You couldn't call your old glass pack guy or one of the Culligans?
I could
Not
have.
in Atlanta.
I could have.
Hey,
Yeah.
But Greg
Culligan can travel.
Greg Lee played bass on it, and then I had Tim Paddle mix it. So I tell you, I mean, Frank, I sent it to you. I think it sounds great. So
Absolutely.
it just
Now,
it needs a place to to happen.
okay, right on.
Peter, you are definitely what I like to call a 6 a.m. songwriter. So when I lived out on the West Coast, there were just two types of songwriters, people that thought they were songwriters and 6 a.m. songwriters. And what that meant is you would fall out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning and you could write a fucking hit song. And that song was awesome. That was, I mean, like, I'm laughing. I'm like, I've never heard that song before.
Right.
And now you say that, Joe.
But oh, here we go.
I mean, but the thing about it is, Peter, you're one of those people who writes songs that can sit. Your body of work is not. It's not just what do they call it? You're not just prolific. There's a quality and a consistency in quality throughout your entire release of solo records. I mean, it's very I mean, it's all good. It's not all the same, but the quality is high. The songs don't, these are 3 shitty songs on this record. It doesn't happen with you. And that's a rare thing, man, as a listener to hear that.
And as an outsider, kind of listening to your story, going back to the Brown School, even at the U of L day, it's like, I feel like your songwriting it comes from maybe an early discipline that maybe that freedom that you were given at the Brown School, and even in your earlier days listening to those records. I'm just saying, from just hearing that one song, because I obviously I know, I'm not gonna say most of, but a lot of your back catalog. It's amazing that same sense of urgency in your writing and performing is still true to this day as it was back into your earlier stuff. Hearing that song, I was like, wow, Jesus Christ, that's the kind of shit that makes you want to quit music. It's like, you know what I'm saying? You're like, God,
I'm
damn.
done. I'm done.
I'm
out. I'm out.
And I'm just being honest with you. It's like I was singing along to it by the damn second verse. It was really good.
I wrote 4. I wrote a 5th and an 8th in that time.
Nice.
I'm not going to do it right now.
Hashtag, what is it, Frank? Hashtag what?
Hashtag look at me.
Yeah,
Hashtag
look at me. But Peter and I have sang together before, so he knows.
Like, I think making things, you can be simple with things and have them be strong. You don't have to, not everything has to be brilliant. You can be really simple and have,
Very well said.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
No, in fact, finding a smart way to say something simply is a pretty good thing.
Yeah, and to say something someone else hasn't said in a similar fashion, even though it's real basic, it might be cowboy chords, but if you're saying something that people it's going to resonate, it doesn't matter.
Well, and that's Matthew Sweet's Girlfriend album changed everything for me. Those are just a bunch of heartfelt love songs or songs that were broken-hearted songs, but they were done in such a way that it made me not afraid to approach songs like that.
Did you feel like when you heard that album that you'd like, that son of a bitch sounds like me?
That was a game changer.
No,
I thought it did at the time, because you were coming out of Starbilly doing your solo thing, or going to whatever, but it was like weird transition right there. I could be wrong,
but no, the first Matthew Sweet record was like 1990, 3?
91.
Yeah.
I was on the same label, Zoo. I was on Zoo Records with them.
So
hashtag all about me.
So I mean, so this is, I mean, but that I mean, he had. It's a very unique thing with Matthew Sweet no one was doing that real kind of heartfelt, almost gentle pop sensibility. Everybody was trying to be heavier, which everybody was trying to be Whiskey Town or Seattle, and he just did this beautiful Beatles, not Beatles, like kind of a Beach Boys. These rich harmonies, these rich California harmonies. It was a whole different harmonic thing that was going on. And what did it strike with you?
With amazing shredding guitar all over.
Yeah.
Oh,
just
yeah.
like they just let Tom Verlaine and somebody else, I can't remember who Robert Quine, I believe, just go to town on top of it. Almost as if they like just. It sounds to me like he just sat them down and said, "Here, play solos. Electrically on top of it. I'll figure it out."
Just noodle.
And I could be way off base here, but do you think Matthew Sweet kind of led into Jason Isbell, Jeff Buckley, I mean, John Mayer, like a lot of these guys? I'm not going to go to the Hawaiian side of it, but I mean, do you think that Matthew Sweet kind of led into all that kind of?
I think there's a correlation certainly between Jason Isbell and Matthew Sweet.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's definitely a through line. Thread.
Yeah, I never thought about that, but
is Buckley in there too?
No, Buckley's just something
totally different and out of his own league.
The first time I saw Matthew Sweet, I was in a total synth pop band, and we were an opening act for a band called Material Issue.
Yeah.
And we ended up playing at X Fest, 91 X Fest. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Because he don't look like nothing. He don't talk like nothing. But he got up there and was like, he fucking owned it. And I was like, I mean, honestly, I was blown away. I was a fan right from there and then. And then, like I said, we kind of got lucky to hang out a little bit.
Then what'd you say?
Vicky Liebens was our A&R for Zoo. She was also the head of promotion, and she's like, you guys should hang out with this guy more often because he's a pretty prolific songwriter. And we met a guy named Eric Seraphin through him, who went on to do like Ben Harper, Dishwalla, Amy Grant, stuff like that. But it was all through that Matthew Sweet connection, which was like from one show where we were like, holy shit, who the fuck is this guy? Like craziness.
Yeah, Love Jones from Louisville was on Zoo.
Yeah.
Custom van.
Mm-hmm.
And Stuart Johnson, who was the drummer at the time for Love Jones, he probably was out on the road during that time with Matthew Sweet.
Yeah. That's crazy. It's funny what they say. It's a small world connected by a phone call.
I'll still hang out with Todd Johnson. I'm just saying.
Peter, do you want to play another song? Or can you? Sure. Or you want me to drop one in the post?
Why don't you put one of my new ones on there?
Okay, what you pick? All right, we'll figure that out later. All right, absolutely.
See which one you want to put on there.
Absolutely. Right. So thank you for Secret Sky. Thank you for doing that.
That was awesome.
And is there anything you want to plug? I know we already talked about it, but is there anything you want to plug, or your Instagram, your Apple Music, anything? He doesn't give a shit. Hey, how much for the two mirrors behind you and that guitar? I'll give you $38.
Not this guitar or that one.
Not that guitar. Right. No, I mean the ones behind you.
That's
Peter,
funny.
I love you very much. You know how much I love you. I hope I can joke with you in the future. Yeah. And thank you for being on. It's gonna get weird. And nothing you want to plug? You want to say anything else in your parting?
No, man. I'm glad you guys are doing this, and Frank will have to do another Searcy Bloody Sabbath at some point.
That would be fun. Yeah.
I would love to see that. I would love to see that.
I saw two of them, and they were fucking awesome. And I can't wait to see it again because Frank loves Black Sabbath, and you are a great Ozzy.
He was a great Peter.
Yeah.
He was great, Peter.
That sounds really weird.
Yeah, the thing I liked about Searcy Bloody Sabbath is we didn't really try to do a tribute as much as just kind of our version of
yourself. Yeah.
Just play the music of Black Sabbath. There was no I love you alls or whatever. I'm sorry, my camera keeps going in and out.
Clap your fucking hands.
Yeah. I didn't walk around the stage.
I'm gonna be a seal.
Hey, here's a question I have a question, and it's pretty relevant. Obviously with the pandemic and everything, it sounds like you had to cancel a lot of live touring plans are. Do you have any plans to maybe head back out next year, or what are your touring plans? Are you just going to lay low, or is it just mostly write, record, and release?
Financially, man, there's just nothing out there for me,
Okay.
as far as touring. It just doesn't make sense.
Okay.
I certainly love to go play, but I would like to, my goal in the next year is to get with Tim.
Yeah.
I really want to work with Tim Paddlin again. We had something very special that happened, and I think it can happen again. Record a few more songs, and find some way to release what I have.
Right.
Whatever that is. I don't know what that looks like at this point.
Right.
I'll play, here in Atlanta. I'll play in Louisville. I'll play, maybe Birmingham or something like that. But for the most part, it's just financially just doesn't. It can't happen the way I want to do it. And I really don't want to get in the car and drive around.
Right.
I did that for years, playing on the road with, Bob Mould and Glenn Phillips and, John Andresic, all these different dudes where I toured and did the solo dude.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm okay at it. I can fake doing that pretty well.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy playing with a full band and feeling, that, and it just can't happen.
That's cool.
Unless something, unless something weird happens, you just never know at this point who was a fan of, and who is in a position of power at this point to throw my song into a movie, to throw my song on a commercial. I never know that, that could happen.
Yeah.
That could happen next week.
It's going to happen. That line is going to go.
And
you called it. You called it, man.
What is power?
Yeah. What is power?
Positivity, baby.
So
if you ever need if you ever need a half-wit hack of a singer to come sing on one of your songs, I'm going to volunteer Scott.
Okay. He's ready, man.
Look at that.
All right.
Yeah. So good to have you. Such a huge fan.
Yeah, man.
So
It's nice talking to all of you guys. This has been an absolute blast.
And it's good.
Please tell Stephanie we said thank you very much.
And it's good that you made it out of the pandemic in one piece, and Stephanie and your families. So yeah,
yes,
good stuff. Thank you again for being on with us tonight. It's a great honor.
Yeah, totally, man.
Honor.
This was the best. This was the best. Thank you so much,
Peter. You know how much I love you. Thank you guys so much.
Scott, thank you. You guys take care.
All right.
All right, man. Take care, buddy.